Stacie Starr, ninth grade intervention specialist at Elyria High School, top Teacher Award recipient last year. She's going to speak in regard to, I think, overlapping in regard to the testing schedule and also with regard to the new next generation assessments and special education.
Excellent, thank you. Welcome, I'm glad that you're all here today. I'm standing in front of you as an intervention specialist. I also have 3 students at the high school, so I'm a parent as well as an advocate for my special needs students here today. I created a calendar that shows the next 4 months that are what they're going to look like within our high school. The only thing that I didn't do is I left off all of the general ed students, and they're going to be alphabetized, and they'll fit into the 4-hour sessions that will continue throughout the day. So if you take a look at the amount of testing, like Matt said, we will literally go until the mid of May. That doesn't include the SGMs that we still need to test our students on. That doesn't include the SLOs, and that does not include the finals that they are still expected to take at the end of the year. So we are just compiling assessments upon assessments upon assessments. The most disturbing part of this whole process, I think, is when we begin to talk about and look at our special needs population. Recently, we were told on January 6th that our students were not allowed to receive read aloud on the test. I was very perturbed by that because I have been giving my students read aloud. On the reading test, they're not allowed to have the reading passages read aloud, but they are allowed to have the questions read. We were told January 6th that they were not allowed to have read aloud on the assessments. January 20th, we were told that we needed to make phone calls to amend our students' IEPs and explain to parents that their child would not be allowed to have read aloud on the assessment. In order to qualify for special education, you have to first of all be 2 years below that grade level in order to qualify in the area that they're lacking. We'll say that. I will explain to you later, I took the 9th grade assessment and I had some samples. I couldn't kill any more trees. I just felt really, really bad about that. It's 17 pages front and back. So if you got a sample of the 9th grade test and you want to share it later with your partner or whoever's sitting next to you, that'd be great. I got an email. I went to an alternative assessment session, and I talked to the lady that was sitting next to me, and she was from a neighboring district. And I was saying, wow, I have to call these parents, I have to make these accommodations. I feel so terrible. Here I am, I've been giving these accommodations to my kids all year, reading the questions aloud to them, and now I have to tell them that their students are their child are no longer allowed to do that. The lady that sits next to me is saying, well, we just got an email from our supervisor that says that Lorain has been informed that students whose IEP states, I'm reading this because I want to get it correct, the students whose IEP states oral read aloud as an accommodation will get the entire ELA PARCC test read to them, including passages, questions, and choices. Since PARCC allows for text-to-speech, the entire test will be read this year since it is already in the students' IEPs. The message is PARCC isn't taking anything away from a student's IEP and is in fact adding more by allowing the reading passages to be read orally. There will be a notation on the child's score that it was read to the child and it is not an accurate measure of the student's reading level.
No.
That is going to happen this year only for grades 4 through 9. Last time I checked, there's a reason why these students are on an IEP. They have a learning disability and they may struggle with reading. That is extremely upsetting to me. And I am waiting right now to have confirmation if that is in fact true, whereas in our district we have already made those phone calls to parents letting them know that their child could not receive read aloud this year. In order to qualify for these accommodations, you had to be blind or visually impaired. You have to be a student with a disability that cannot decode written text. So I guess if you can read the word "the," you can, go ahead and read the test and be graded however. And in order to have the signing, you have to be deaf. So those would be the ways that you would be allowed to have read aloud for the assessments. I took apart the ninth grade reading assessment. There are 3 passages to begin. This is the practice text. It talks about the atomic bomb. There are 5 pages of a speech from Oppenheimer's Manhattan Project that the students are going to be expected to read. It has 6 questions. Oppenheimer was an atomic scientist. I don't quite know how that can relate to ninth grade knowledge, but okay. There are 2 pages of a letter that Harry Truman wrote petitioning the atomic bomb that they're expected to read, which has 8 questions following it. And then there are 2 pages on Truman's decision to drop the atomic bomb, which then has 4 questions. The students are going to be expected to read, and this is the whole population of ninth grade. That's how I was thinking. I see your mouth open like, what in the world? So the students are going to be expected to read all 3 of those passages. That's 9 pages of that material. And then you come to question 10. Write an essay that compares and contrasts a primary argument in each text that you have read regarding the decision to drop the atomic bomb. Your essay should explain how effectively you think each author supported the claim with reasoning and/or evidence. Be sure to use evidence from the 3 texts to support your ideas. I can't recall ever, except in college, writing something to that extent. It doesn't end there. After that, they get to read 5 pages of Charles Dickens' Bleak House. There are 10 questions to follow that, and then an essay. I just want to read one sentence from Dickens. I was apprehensive that his illness might be of a dangerous kind, but of course I begged her to be quiet and not disturb anyone and collected myself. As I followed her quickly upstairs, sufficiently to consider what were the best remedies to be applied, it should prove to be fit. That was the first sentence. Then goes to say she threw open the door, and I went into a chamber where, to my unspeakable surprise, instead of finding Mr. Skimpole stretched upon the bed or prostrate on the floor, I found him standing before the fire smiling at Richard, while Richard, with a face of great embarrassment, looked at a person on the sofa in a white greatcoat with smooth hair upon his head, and not much of it, which he was wiping smoother and making less of with a pocket handkerchief. That was sentence 2. Okay? There's 5 pages of that. And then they're answering 10 questions with an essay that follows. This passage is written as a first-person narrative told from Mrs. Summerman's point of view. Write a narrative story that describes the major events in the passage from the point of view of the stranger, emphasizing his thoughts and feelings about Mr. Skimpole, Miss Summerman, and Richard. Until you actually take a look at the practice tests and what our students are going to be assessed on, I don't think we're quite aware of actually what it is that is being expected of them. I have faith in my students, but I can tell you all right now, my students are reading at an average of a 4th and 5th grade reading level. The first 1,000 words someone placed into the Lexile scoring system of Oppenheimer's Manhattan Project. It scored 1270, which is college level career ready. That is what we are assessing our students on. That was the sample assessment. It's extremely upsetting. Again. I have a student teacher in my classroom right now, and it's hard to stay optimistic in the field that we're in. I ask her, in your classes, are they preparing you for the assessment world that we live in, this drill and kill? And she says that not in any class that she has attended have they talked about the PARCC assessment, nor the OGT or OAA. And I think the problem is people don't know what to say about it. Like I said, it is very hard for us as teachers. We're playing a game. Have you ever played a game when you were young, and then the person that's playing with you says, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you this. That's not part of the rule. You can't do that. Okay, and then it changes again. Oh yeah, well last week we told you couldn't have read aloud. Oh, but this week we'll let you read everything aloud. And that's what, again, is so frustrating each and every day. I look into my students' eyes, and then I have to tell them, well, I can't help you with this because we need to see what it is that you're capable of doing on your own. I know that they're struggling with this. I know that they're reading at a 5th grade level. There has to be something done And we need to start advocating for all of our kids, but especially the special education population that is being demoralized on a daily basis. We're making them feel worse about themselves. The curriculum is going to continue, and it has gone at such a fast pace, these kids can't keep up with it. It is unbearable. I spend my days in study hall trying to catch kids up every single day just to stay with what the daily assignment is. And it is extremely frustrating. We are teaching to a test. Our curriculum is going way too fast. And these students, we are losing them. I opened the mailbox the other day, and this was the magazine cover, The School to Prison Pipeline. If your child, I have 3 children, they do perfectly fine in school. They're able to take a test, they're able to pass it, they know how to study. If you are a child that struggles, or you are a child that doesn't have a family that values education, you will not survive in this system, and the only output is to get them, they end up suspended, they end up being frustrated in school, they do not know how to perform, and we're putting them out. That's what we're doing. And then this article specifically stated if a student is suspended or expelled or whatever the outcome comes, they're most likely going to go to prison. And that, God bless you, is upsetting. When I think about education today, it's very upsetting. We're becoming presenters of materials and not teachers. They have taken away all of our creativity within the classroom between us as educators and the students. It's interesting when you ask a student to think for themselves, they're so used to material being just given to them, given to them, given to them. When you ask them a question for them to express themselves, they look at you as in a robotic look. They cannot think for themselves. And it is really sad. Every award that I have won, I won the Top Teacher in the Nation award this year. Not one time on the video or through my nominations did anybody say, hey, you wrote an excellent lesson plan. That was an awesome teacher evaluation that the principal came through and you know, recognized you for that. Hey, your kids' test scores were great this year. Okay, because they probably weren't. And I'm okay with that because I can show improvement from my students when they came into me to when they left. And it wasn't by the OGT test or the OAA test. And I'm fine with that. What I got into education for was to change lives. I wanted to make a difference. I have been able to do that, and I cannot do that in the setting in which it is being done right now. I am actually going to resign from teaching after this year because of what education has become. It is extremely...
And they're winning. They're winning.
I'm going to teach in a different way. My passion has always been to work with at-risk kids, and my kids are not in the school. I'm looking to start an after-school program where I can help get these kids off of the street and not go to jail. That is my passion. My hands are tied within the building from 7:30 to 3:30. And I hate to say it in this sense, and it's not a point of giving up on kids. I would much rather, like, I talked to John, I would much rather sub. The amount of stress that we are placed, the amount of stress that is placed upon us on every single day. I'm going to have to go back and do data collection. I'm going to have to go back and do some other type of assessment. I'm going to have to write IEPs. I have to have failure meetings. I have to do all of these things that we're being expected to do. And it's not our district's fault. I understand that. It's not the teacher's fault. I understand that. It's a system that has to be changed. We have to do something. And I can't do that from 7:30 to 3:30, but I can be a voice and I can be an advocate some other way. So I just really hope that people start taking a look at what is going on with our schools, because we are losing kids. We are losing kids, and it is not fair that we're not preparing them for the real world. Just because they can pass an assessment does not mean that they're going to be successful in life. I've known many people to not graduate or from college and have been able to live successfully without that. Not everyone is college bound. We need to understand that. So, I'm going to leave that there. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacie.